This is Mason. It's 11 o'clock in the morning in Syracuse, and we're live in the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Morning all. Happy Monday. G-Mac still hasn't been announced officially. Official, I'm sure. I's still need to be dotted. T's crossed. Jerry McNamara, not in his name, elsewhere in the contract. None of those on the list for Jerry. But yeah, it's out there. It is out there. Jerry McNamara is going to be the next head coach, the 9th all time. Hard to believe it's only been 9 head coach all time in Syracuse University history. So we'll get into that over the course of the show. We spent a significant chunk of our lacrosse postgame show yesterday talking about that, and we'll continue to get into Syracuse's path here and now turn the page forward as we roll into this Monday with the first show this week. With the first show this week, and with that, let's just launch right into it with our Thompson Road Tavern opening menu. It's a Monday at the TRT. Get yourself a $5 Nashville hot chicken sandwich on the old lunch special today. Soup of the day, chicken noodle. It's still chicken noodle weather outside, people. It's not warm out. It's not warm. What is up? A different Bret Hart than Bret Hart, but the Hitman is here. So we got Bret Hart here. We got Supercat. Jen's here. Kev's here. We got the crew here rolling along on this Monday. Do we really count Red? We count Red, Kev. He counts. And Jim Boeheim only counts once, even though he was here for a very long time. So what are we going to do here today? We'll do the pour some out for the Who's Next music. We're really only running Who's Next today just because we like the music. The search is over, it's complete, but it's full circle. Our first ever edition of Who's Next, way back at the end of January, was Jerry, and we'll full circle it here today with Jerry. We'll talk about other people that were apparently potentially in the mix right up until the end. So interesting reporting from Matt Norlander yesterday, considering all the stuff with Brian Hodgson that's come out in the last few days. And let's see, Lax with a nice win yesterday, 18-12 over Georgetown, and the Orange women will do a little no wrong answers for Syracuse and UConn tonight. Unfortunately, every time Syracuse and Connecticut have played, going back to 1996, they've had wrong answers. So we'll get into that later tonight. That's a 6 o'clock tip this evening at the Gamble Pavilion in lovely Stores, Connecticut. And as always, link pin top of the chat if you'd like to join the show at any point. Yeah, we'll see if we can work in that Who's Next music again, Big Tuna, because it's, frankly, it's fantastic. It's just, I mean, we're vibing. Maybe we can just keep Who's Next for the assistants joining the staff or something. I don't know. The music's elite, and we don't want to lose the music because it is so outstanding. But there we are on Thompson Road Tavern, opening menu to start off the week here live in the 315. Again, link pin top of the chat if you would like to join the show. Of course, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, just slam that subscribe button, like aggressively, like to the level that you're breaking your mouse to your phone. But just, go that far, but then pull back a little bit. If you'd like to become a member of the channel, the $sign next to the chat box is the place to go to that. We now have 3 membership levels, 1, 2, 3. You can choose what's right for you in your support of the channel. Any support, as always, is appreciated. So there we are. We are. Gavendo, did you just third person yourself is back? Gavendo's back. So there is that. So obviously the news of yesterday officially breaking. It was kind of, I guess Pete Thamel gets credit for being the one that broke the news, but it was kind of coming from all directions yesterday. So, the Brian Hodgson officially to Providence news broke yesterday morning. And again, I still don't get what Hodgson's agent, who I honestly think he has the same agent as Jerry. It's really hard to. Jerry's back. All right, I thought you were third person in Gavendo, but Jerry is back. That too. Everyone's back. Jerry, Gavendo, everybody. That, I still don't know why why that was out there last Tuesday night. And still the only thing I can think is that Syracuse, like the only thing that makes logical sense to me is that Syracuse, because I look at what Hodgson got at Providence, and it seems to be ish what Jerry's getting at Syracuse. And, like, are you really? Yeah, Dick Hoops Weiss had it out there. Dick's turned into a big retweeter in his latter years. Didn't see that coming from old Hoops. But it's fascinating how it played out with Hodgson. And some reporting yesterday from Matt Norlander of CBS Sports, I think makes it even more interesting in that light. Hodgson knew Boeheim was involved, like the mafia. Okay, there we go. Did he tell him he was going to sleep with the fishes? So he sent him to Providence, where, the water's right there, so he can get comfy. Is that how it works? Is that how it works? The reporting from Matt Norlander yesterday was interesting. So the Jerry news came out. Then Norlander later in the day said that the other coach that Syracuse was still trying to get after late in the game was not Hodgson. It was Josh Schertz from St. Louis, who over the weekend lost in the second round of the tournament to Michigan. They kind of ran out of steam in the second half of that game against a very good Wolverines team. And I've said all along, you look at Hodgson, you look at Schertz. I've always liked Schertz way better than Hodgson or Jerry or anybody. I would have put Schertz number one on the list. It also seemed like the longest shot. The Billikens fans were made it very obvious that they didn't think he was going to leave St. Louis. I thought it would always be for maybe like a Big Ten school or something like that. The reporting from Norlander was very interesting because it says that like last week or a week and a half ago, Schertz signed an extension with St. Louis. Apparently the Orange, even after the extension was signed, according to the reporting, continued to woo Josh Schertz. And whatever the buyout is in that contract, Syracuse was under the impression, according to Matt Norlander's reporting, that it wasn't crazy enough that they couldn't deal with it. So we talk about the finances or whatever. The Schertz thing was interesting, and he opts to stay at St. Louis. He's the one, you look at all these coaches out there, that he's the one that certainly intrigued me the most. Jerry, I think, has a shot. I mean, it sounds like they talked to Luke Murray, but, Connecticut's still playing and they've hired Jerry. Like, if they were going on Luke, I don't think we would have heard about the Jerry thing. Definitely would have loved to have Bill Murray in the Dome. That would have been an unbelievable bonus on top of the whole thing. Would have been an unbelievable bonus on top of the whole thing to get Bill Murray involved. Jerry can work. Is it a slam dunk? No. Is the negative, if it goes wrong, like way worse than anybody else? Yes. Because as much as Red is and was and always will be a Syracuse guy, Jerry is on a level of beloved that is way, way, way different than everybody else. Like, he may be number one on the all-time list of beloved Syracuse athletes. Like, it's extremely possible he's number one on the list. GMAC can work, Circus of Value. How can you say he can't work? It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. If Syracuse steps up his NIL game, like the reporting is saying that the Orange plan on being in the top third of the ACC in NIL. Now, they have to actually go do this, go be in the top third of the ACC in NIL. I've thought all along, and I don't think this is a controversial statement, Jerry is a better X's and O's coach than Autry. And that's, I don't think very in dispute. Back in the day, where you put Jerry ahead, or Jerry behind Red, is Red was the superior recruiter to Jerry, but now NIL has completely changed the scope of all of that. And Syracuse was slow to get on that, and everybody is aware of that. But now in the land of NIL, if Jerry has funds, I think that, in theory, can mitigate a lot of whatever the perceived real or otherwise issues in Jerry's recruiting are. So that's the one thing. I like Jerry. I mean, Jerry's a good in-game coach. Jerry's attitude and all that stuff is exactly what you want. The downside is if it fails, it's just going to be misery, absolute misery, because firing Jerry McNamara, because it doesn't work, is just brutal. Now, Jerry, it's kind of weird here, right? You always say you don't want to be the guy after the guy, you want to be the guy after the guy after the guy. Well, Red was the guy after the guy, and you look back at the 3 years, he clearly wasn't cut out for it, but that is going to be an absolute tough spot regardless. Now, usually when you're the guy after the guy after the guy, things have changed a little bit, but now Jerry's coming from kind of the same direction, so all right, does he get the benefit of any blank slateness when it is Jerry who was on the staff of both of the previous two guys? That I don't know. Like with Red, people are like, oh, how many years you got to give Red? I always said, I think 3 is fair because it is a continuity hire. Well, Jerry is half continuity and half not at this point. And now it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Yeah, and the reporting out there today, fellow Furter, that Syracuse and Providence will more likely than not play in Boston next year. Go figure. Obviously something like, I wonder who's even making, I don't even know. You talk about all these other things for a month, we didn't know who was in charge. Who in the hell is working on that deal? I don't know who's making these deals for the basketball schedule right now. So that's funny. And go figure, Syracuse and Providence will play next year. I'm always a fan of, people are like, oh, the Syracuse-Georgetown series is getting stale or whatever. I like the idea of at least mixing in former Big East foes. Playing Providence and Boston, okay, good neutral site game. I've said for more than a decade, try to play St. John's in the Garden every year. I say it a little less enthusiastically now due to, they're really freaking good. But if you can play St. John's in the Garden every year, that's great for Q's fans and net and all that stuff. It's not even a neutral site game. It's a true road game. That's fantastic. That's fantastic if you can pull that off. And it just doesn't happen. The Georgetown thing kind of ran its course, but still mix it in. I'd play Nova every now and again, but then you don't overload your schedule with it. I'd like to see that stuff getting mixed in. So we'll see how that all plays out. But Syracuse and Providence reportedly playing at the TD Bank North Garden, the home of the Boston Celtics and Boston Bruins next year. I presume later this year, next season at some point. So just a high irony alert there for that one. Now, would Patino agree to a home and home? I mean, they don't seem to shy away. I don't see why he wouldn't, fellow Ferda. I don't see why he wouldn't agree to it. They're like, what's he got to be afraid of? There's no good reason for him not to agree with it. Now, can Jerry be successful? What's it going to take here for Jerry McNamara to be successful? Again, link pin top of the chat if you'd like to join the show. Be ironic if Syracuse plays Siena now in Albany. That would be kind of hilarious. I'm still not against that idea because that's going to be a pro-Cuse crowd in many ways and technically a road game. That's a good RPI. Nets, the whole whatever situation for games like that. Jerry can work. Nobody was there was no slam dunk hire, obviously, that Syracuse definitely could get. I think Josh Schertz was probably the best guy around this cycle. Hodgson, while I think would have been a good option, I don't think he was a slam dunk hire. Jerry's not a slam dunk hire. So setting that aside, what can work? He needs money for players because you cannot win without players. I don't care who you are. And Boston isn't very neutral, says Kisney. It's neutral enough. I mean, there's plenty of Syracuse fans in Boston. Obviously, Providence is right next door. I think that'll be a pretty split crowd. I think that'll be a pretty split crowd. So, what I think I'm going to find most fascinating as for Syracuse's financial commitment to bringing Orange basketball into the modern era is going to be this. What is the staff going to look like, both in volume of people and in level of their resumes? Syracuse has been getting by with 3 assistants in what's turned into a 5-assistant world. Technically, other people on the staff were assistants. They had 3 assistants. They never upped the number on that. on the staff here in the last few years. Are they going to let Jerry have 5? The answer better be yes, because everyone else is doing it. Like, you better do it. Matt, you were just a pile of fun on this Monday Circus of Values. So, can they get 5? Who are they bringing from Siena? If you tell me that Jerry gets 5 assistants, then I'm okay with bringing both Blackwell and Arinze if that's what he wants to do. Really like what Arinze did on court with the Siena Post players. They clearly were coached up on that. But neither of those two have enough experience if you're not then going to fill out the staff with more. A name that came up yesterday here in the chat, I forget who brought it up yesterday. This name would be interesting to me. I would like Jerry to get somebody with head coaching experience to be an assistant on the staff or, whatever. Pick a position. Director of ops, whatever the position is, the guy that Jerry can lean on in times of need, right? Red never had that on his staff. Whether it be by choice or by budget or whatever, Red never had it. Red desperately needed that. Jerry obviously is a couple of steps further along than Red in his head coaching history. Jerry still should have something like that. Jim Boeheim don't need that, right? Like, Jim Boeheim didn't need that toward the end. It was just completely unnecessary for Jim to have somebody like that on his staff. So Syracuse hasn't had somebody like that on the staff for a long, long time. A name that stands out is recently retired, in that he was retired, St. Bonaventure head coach Mark Schmidt. So I think, I don't know what Schmidt has planned. Like, that retirement at Bonaventure was not a willing one. Like, if I'm, stylistically or whatever, if you agree with that, like, Mark Schmidt was a really good coach for a really long time in Olean, and like, I think that would be just an unbelievable hire to put on the staff right now. Do you look at a guy like Jason Hart, who is on the Kentucky staff of former Syracuse players that are current college assistants? He is, I'd say, clearly the number one guy out there right now for recruiting, for time in the game, for connections coast to coast, whatever. If you offer him associate head coach, what do you want? I think that could be interesting. While the Syracuse ties are always fun, you need to hire some people that are not Syracuse connections. Do you bring your lead assistant from Siena? What was his name? I've totally blanked on his name. Who was with Hop at Washington and is now Siena coaching staff, and now one of the fast-rising Ben Lee, that's his name, fast-rising guys in the country. There's early rumors that maybe he's certainly in the mix, if not leader in the clubhouse, to take over the Siena job in Jerry's stead. But there's kind of an outside voice. Pete Corsentini, as of today, is still the director of ops. Well, that, like, something like that's interesting. Like, Pete, very good at that job. Like, gets thrust co-assistant coach, whatever. He still has. I don't know when his contract's up. Like, as of today, he's still employed. Ryan Bury had that role at Siena, who was a former Syracuse manager and GA and all that stuff. So, like, would you? And he's the son of Brian Bury, the longtime St. Rose head coach, who Jerry also had on staff as kind of like a special helper. So, I think both are useful people to have around. Both are great behind-the-scenes type people. Trains run on time, all that stuff. But you need to have a full enough staff in order to be able to employ all of those people. So are you going to let them do that? Like, are you going to let them fill out 5 assistants, video coordinator, director of ops? Who's going to be the GM? I think that is going to be intriguing. Some people keep tossing out Hop. I don't see that for the world. Honestly, I can't think. You talk about guys that have been head coaching experience, whatever. I know Hop wanted the head coaching job. I still think Hop is a top assistant on Jerry's staff if he would be willing, And I honestly, like, if I'm Hop with Boeheim still in the building based on how all that went down, I don't personally, I don't think I'd be willing. If Boeheim was out of the picture, could Hop work for Jerry? Yeah, I think so. So I don't think that would happen, but I love Hop, so having him involved in some way would be interesting. Mark Schmidt's the one that really intrigues me right now. Mark Schmidt really intrigues me right now. And then, I don't know, like Jerry would know. Like he hired this Ben Lee, obviously Hop connections, but also outside connections. You need to go get some people on the staff with outside thoughts, outside voices, and the whole thing. Yeah, I don't think, like, Hop's not going to become a college-level GM unless they're paying out the nose for a job like that. And realistically, if you're going to hire Hop, put him on the court. Like, Hop is an infectious assistant coach. He really coaches up the players. He works his ass off during practice, all those things. Like, I mean, he gets a lather up now. So, like, if you're going to put him on the staff, like, put him on the staff and let him coach. But I don't know. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how Jerry fills out the staff. And then when we are looking at the portal, I still think this is interesting that Syracuse players, ever since Red was let go, the portal's been open for them. I know the portal isn't open till April 7th, but if your coach is fired or leaves, the portal's open. So none of them have entered the portal ... yet. So, interesting. Which means, and I'm not saying you want all of them back, but all right, now Jerry here has a few weeks until you're able to start bringing in other people and, you know, all the stuff that goes on with the portal. You got a couple weeks here to, like, I'm sure Jerry knows Cayenne a little bit through Mello and the whole thing, even though he didn't coach him. You got a few weeks to talk to Cayenne, talk to Mello, talk to Sadiq, talk to a Betsy. Nate George has another year of eligibility. Like, maybe Jerry thinks whatever his system is better fits that. Gavin Doty, when you start looking at Siena players, I'd be, honestly, I look at Siena's roster and Syracuse roster right now, the player I'm most convinced will be playing basketball for Syracuse next year is Gavin Doty. Like, out of all of the players on both teams, looking at the rosters of Syracuse and Siena, I'd be stunned if Gavin Doty's not in the Orange next year. He's from Fulton. He always wanted to play for Syracuse. He wants to play for Jerry. That just seems like a total no-brainer. Could you keep Nate Kings for another year? He still needs to get another year, but I'd love to have Nate Kings back for another year. That's the guy that makes winning basketball players. Yeah, there's Folefak from Siena. Like, he's a guy you could see potentially coming over. Francis Folefak, a 6'7" forward who was part of, I guess, the Team Mello AAU situation. And then from the outside, like, you're not going to go into next year with just Syracuse players from this year and Siena players from last year. That's a losing recipe. The portal's not open yet. So are you going to get a center? If you shove Nate George aside, which, like, are you going to get a point guard? Like, where are you going to get that? And how does it all come together there? Because I think you got a shot. I'd love to keep Sadiq White. You know, don't necessarily need to keep Donnie. So I don't know. We'll see where it all goes on stuff like that. But this is going to be, technically, now that Jerry has gone from Siena, whenever that technically happens. I know it technically hasn't happened yet. But Siena players will be allowed to enter the portal. It's possible, like Gavin Doty's at Syracuse by the end of the week. But you don't want to, I'd bet, I guess after Noah Lubdell, Gavin Doty would be number 2. I'd bet is on the roster next year. And then, Michael Antonio, can Jerry go out in the portal with whatever NIL they got and go get someone legit? Because, to your point, circus of values, you need to win right now. Syracuse has not made the tournament in 5 years. With the portal, with NIL, the fact that this year went sideways and last year went sideways should not have any effect on whether next year goes sideways or next year goes to the tournament and has a chance. Syracuse is going to enter next year. Like, is it like, oh, Jerry's on the hot seat? No, but the expectations next year, like right now, like that hasn't changed. The expectations need to be, should be, and are Syracuse needs to be in the tournament next year. Those are the expectations. That doesn't change. Yeah, like I think Donnie Freeman still like it's still in there for Donnie. I can't. I don't know if I personally can watch it anymore. I don't think I can watch it anymore. This is more for me, and for all of us. I don't think I can watch it anymore. And to your point, Michael Antonio, yeah, like Jerry becomes a name out there in bigger circles than he had been based on that performance against Duke last week. So, and that goes for potential assistants as well. Because, if you're a potential intriguing assistant out there that maybe knew Jerry but didn't know him that well or whatever before, like his name's ringing out now. So, okay. There we are. Yeah, there better be some meaningful games in March next year. Ricky K, I need some meaningful games in March. I also need that statement never to be uttered again, but I need some meaningful games in March. Do I think Donnie's injuries hampered him? Clearly, Michael, certainly his freshman year, and then whatever, but it's just either you got a motor or you don't. Jerry is one of the highest motor players of all time. Gavin Doty, who I assume will be on Syracuse next year, his motor is crazy. His talent level is certainly not Donnie Freeman. Donnie Freeman's motor, needs a tune-up. If Donnie Freeman played 100% all the time, then Donnie Freeman's a potential lottery pick. If Donnie Freeman played from the right spot on the court all the time, Donnie Freeman's a potential lottery pick. Donnie Freeman did neither of those things this year. Yeah, we need to get back to meaningful games in late January. He just I look at Donnie this year. So Donnie gets hurt early, right? Donnie comes back. Donnie's first few games back, he was awesome. Donnie's first few games back were phenomenal. I was thinking at the time, after those first 3 or 4 games from Donnie, I'm like, man, he's playing himself back into the mid-first round of the NBA draft. He was awesome all over the court. Rebounding, 3-level scorer, the whole thing. Then it got on, and he strayed, I don't have the analytics in front of me, but I forget if you were able to look up distance from basket for Donnie Freeman's initial touch of a possession. Somebody's got to have stuff like that. I don't have it. I bet Donnie's distance from the rim on his initial touch of possession increased as the season went along. And because of that, his efficiency decreased as the season went along. Those first few games when he was starting at the post and getting to the rim and then stretching out to 3 and then he could attack from all 3 levels, he was great. Working the offensive glass. Later in the season, he was getting the ball outside the arc, trying to drive from there to the rim, which is not in his bag. And if that didn't work, just shooting quick trigger threes. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. So I don't want to deal with that again. I don't want to deal with that again. And frankly, you talk about, now this ain't happening, but you talk about how fast things can change. Look at Jerry's freshman year, right? 0-2 for Syracuse was an insanely frustrating basketball season, right? The Preston Shumpert to Sean Williams drama. Yeah, they won 20-some-odd games, but that's an NIT season. Vibes, not immaculate. But, Deshaun Williams transfers out after that year. Preston Shumpert is gone. That year was, freshman year for Josh Pace, Akeem Warwick, Craig Forth. Queth Duaney was there, but, certainly not as vital that season. Was Billy Seelick still around then? I suppose anything was possible. I think Billy might have been gone by then. Jeremy McNeil was there, but that year was just a mess. Then the next year, Hack takes a leap into his sophomore year, which I'm not saying Sadiq White could do quite that, but if there's anyone on the team capable of something like that right now, Sadiq I'd put as the guy. Then you add some freshmen or new faces. I'd say they don't need to be freshmen in this day and age, but new faces. Obviously, Melo was the best player in the country. You're not going to go get the best player in the country, but you added Melo. Jerry was unbelievable. Billy Edelin comes in midseason's unbelievable. Josh Pace makes a step. We see how drastic a switch can be from one year to the next year when the roster changes over in the right way. Well, in this day and age, the roster changes over every damn year. So we'll see how it goes, But yeah, I go back to the beginning of 02, 03, recruiting talk wasn't quite what it was. Obviously there was buzz around Melo, but it wasn't, there was less buzz around Melo than there was around Donnie Freeman in the recruiting stuff. There was less buzz around Melo than there was around Benny Williams in the recruiting stuff, just in the, social media not existing, the day and age, whatever. And then, like, you watch Melo's exhibition season in first game against Memphis, which was a loss. You're like, I did not realize that this is what we were doing now, even though he was the number 2 recruit in the country. Like, I didn't realize that until you see him. Now it's a whole different thing. And then, yes, Jerry, I'll say this to the death. Jerry, I think, was the second best freshman in the country that year. He was fantastic that freshman year and fearless. Absolutely fearless. And how does that translate to being the head coach? Fellow Florida, he is a better communicator. There was a ton of buzz, but it's just the world was different, Supercat. There was no social media. Like, the buzz was, the buzz was different just because communication was different. Like, where was the buzz? On a weird message board in recruiting magazines? It wasn't, he technically hasn't been announced as head coach yet, Michael, so no pressure scheduled. If and when it is this week, hopefully the timing works out so we can cover it live. But do keep apprised of that. I'll let you know if and when we hear anything. But they still haven't technically even announced him as head coach. How do we get the number 1 recruit? He was from Baltimore. Like, he came from Baltimore. Troy Weaver, that's how they got him. And that Memphis game, like, that first game of Melo's career, Memphis in the Garden, like, I know he'd put up like 30 whatever in an exhibition game. It's like, all right. Memphis in the Garden, he drops 29, I think, at a game they lost. And you come out of that game being like, holy Lord, this guy's unbelievable. Yeah, will there be a Q&A? Do they trust Jerry to answer questions? Where will the press conference be held? Who will get the microphones? Blah, blah, blah. So, you're not going to have anybody on the team next year that resembles Melo. That's a once-in-a-lifetime situation. He's one of the best freshman seasons in the history of college basketball. Neither here nor there. But it shows you that the one-year turnaround is possible. Jerry was a part of it. He is aware of it. Jerry is a great communicator. Go back to, was this when Jerry was an assistant? I think this was Jerry's year as an assistant for Red, right? It's the last game of the regular season, and they're retiring. Yeah, it was the last year, his season. They're retiring Jerry and Hack's jerseys. And they both got the mic after the game. And Jerry's speech to the crowd was fantastic. And it also felt like we all knew what was coming right at the time. It felt a lot, or actually it might have been the year before. It might have been Boeheim's last year, because it felt a lot like a job interview where you're like, oh, Jerry's making his case right now. Like, Jerry, obviously press conferences were not Red's strong suit, medium suit. He wasn't good at it. Not everyone's good at it. Jerry will win his opening press conference. Jerry will dominate his opening press conference. We know that. Like, everyone's going to come out of that loving Jerry, because everyone's going to go into it loving Jerry. Whether you like the hire or not, you like Jerry, and Jerry's going to say all the right things, and it'll be fantastic and lovey-dovey whenever it all happens. Jerry can communicate. That's a really important part in head coaching these days, is being able to communicate. It's always an important part. It's an even more important part now. Who's saying he's the savior, Circus? Has anyone said Jerry McNamara is the savior? Jerry did lose recruits there. That, I think, is a significant thing to analyze. Jerry lost, like, Jerry's major recruits, like the biggest ones he went at, he often lost to Duke or Kentucky, Connecticut, whatever, down the stretch. When you look at, was it Andre Jackson who went to Duke, Quade Green, Kentucky? Went to UConn, Quade Green, Kentucky. I'm forgetting the ones that went to Duke. He was Malik Brown's recruiter, who we saw in the Duke game. But Jerry made great relationships with him. Are you saying, okay, now why did he lose those recruiting battles? If the why can be solved by NIL, then Jerry's got a shot. Like, if the why Jerry struggled at high level recruiting can be solved by increased NIL, then he's got a shot. everyone who's Circus of Values, I've not heard one person say that he's the savior. He's red? Oh, man. That's the other thing. He was recruiting for Boeheim. He wasn't, there's a lot of, they were also, like, a lot of those issues came during the years, they sanctions, and they couldn't have as many on the road. Like, there's a lot of reasons. Is it reasons? Is it excuses? Is it reasons? Is it excuses? I mean, Melo's technically from Brooklyn. Yes, Devin, but he's from Baltimore. Like, was Melo born in Brooklyn? Yes, Melo's from Baltimore. Like, he grew up in Baltimore. Like, if you take, like, where's Melo from? Baltimore. Now you're, it's Coach K then, and obviously John Shire's killing it recruiting for Duke, but with NIL and the piece, like, is recruiting against Duke still going to be really, really hard? Absolutely. Absolutely. I haven't seen him in the same place, Kev. That's for sure. Recruiting against Duke doesn't get easier. Their NIL is crazy. Shire and staff, fantastic recruiters. Like, obviously, they had some pre-existing ties with the Boozer twins, but, like, they're just, absolutely killing it with their recruiting the last few years. That's not going to change in any foreseeable future. But if increased NIL in both freshman recruiting and, really importantly, the portal, because obviously that has changed significantly than when Jerry was going through that recruiting stuff back in the day at Syracuse. If increased NIL can solve most of those problems, then Jerry's got a shot. If it's still an issue, then there's problems. Which, again, ties into, all right, who's going to be on his staff? Who's going to be on his staff? I'd like, Mark Schmidt's the name that just keeps ringing in my head. There's no sources or anything like this, but, like, Olian's right there. He got retired. He doesn't sound like he's actually ready to retire. If you can give Mark Schmidt on a 5-assistant staff, like the, I'm the veteran head coach, you don't have to worry about recruiting, just, be my right-hand man when it comes to basketball things or running a team and all that, job for a few years, oh, man, I think that would be a fantastic hire. I think that would be a fantastic hire. Yeah, money doesn't solve, the money doesn't guarantee you wins, Al, but the lack of money guarantees you losses. The lack of money guarantees you losses. Yeah, does Jerry know how to use ACC level NIL? I don't know. People are like, oh, he's going to have a lot more NIL than Siena. Well, no crap, he's going to have more NIL than Siena. Siena had the best NIL in the MAC. Like, he was in the pole position in the MAC for use of NIL, with way less money total, obviously. If you have the 6th, 7th, 8th best NIL in the ACC, what are you doing with it? Like, Syracuse still in those positions can't really afford to screw it up and make, wrong purchases. You can't spend however much you spent on a Nate George and have him play like you did this year. Now, is that Nate's fault? Is that NIL? Is that red? Is it whatever? Doesn't matter. Like, when you identify the guy you're going after, and last year was Nate George, that it has to work. It has to work with the budget that Syracuse is going to be working with. So, nothing has changed here in the next month or so in the level of fascinating. It's just starting to crystallize. It's just starting to crystallize. Should we play, just because we've been talking about it this whole time, should we do this like one final time? Just pour some out. Is Weitzman back? Yeah, here's the thing about Weitzman. It's a lot easier to fund some of Siena's NIL than it is to do what he said he was going to do that he never actually did for Syracuse. Adam Weitzman's money is always good. Like, is the fact that Jerry's in charge make it more likely that he's back in the fold and there's a new chancellor and a new AD? Of course it does. Like, I'd like to think that Brian Blair and Mike Haney or whatever, if Weitzman is interested in, actually doing it, not just having a PR stunt, would gladly sit down with them, or at least they should. But Weitzman also never did the things he said he was going to do. He was tweeting today about, what great days it was, and he had the picture of him and Gronk at a game. And Gronk got stuck carrying all of his brother's coats, which I found funny. And he was a very nice guy. He was very friendly, Gronk. He's exactly who he appears to be. Like that, you know what that did? It didn't win Syracuse basketball games. It didn't help win games in the slightest for Syracuse. If And now, back in the day when he's like, we're going to get Syracuse $1 million players. Well, guess what? $1 million ain't getting you 5-star players anymore. And he never gave the $1 million to get those players in the first place. His money's certainly welcome, but he is not the savior. Absolutely not the savior. But, like, if he wants to be part of the team, like, you ain't getting those front row seats back for what you're doing and all that. But, you know, if you want to be part of the team and donate money and be back in the good graces, like, sure. It's only business. Never personal. Never personal. Like, if he wants to actually, you know, start cutting some checks, then sure. But the amount of money he was giving Siena, like, who said this? Is this Jim Mora? Like, the amount of money he was giving Siena ain't going to do diddly poo for Syracuse. Like, absolutely nothing. Well, yeah, Jim and Pam will be there. The busloads from Scranton coming again will be fun. I assume Scranton will mobilize for Jerry. But I should have fired this long ago. Just for the last time. We started Who's Next back on, I think it was January 30th or January 31st. It was a long, long time ago. It's been a long journey to this point, but we have made it to the end of the line.
Mason here. It's time to continue our search for the next Syracuse basketball head coach. With today's candidate, here's Brian.
And the candidate is the final answer because it is Jerry McNamara. And we just wanted to feel the groove one more time. Jerry was our first Who's Next back at the end of January. Jerry was the first Who's Next back at the end of January. Go figure. We just kept doing. We did like 15 more, however many we ended up doing in the series. And the first episode, which was also, I do believe, the most watched episode of Who's Next on the YouTube and all that, certainly the most commented episode in variety of different directions, turned out to be the one with the correct answer. And this was a series that was never designed to predict the next head coach, just to identify all the possible candidates. And I think we hit all the reasonable candidates, and we certainly talked about them all, and Jerry and Josh Schertz and Brian Hodgson and Hop and all the other people that we talked about over the course of the last month and a half that this crazy series has been going on. But we wrap up. What is it? True Detective? Life is a flat circle. Can we find a way to work this music in elsewhere? Oh, We'll see, Randy. We'll see where it could go. We certainly won't forget the music, but we do need to, like, for the last moment, Who's Next? Here's the answer to Who's Next. Our last answer to Who's Next is this. There. Who's Next was the first guy we brought up, and it turned out that was the answer all along, because Who's Next for Syracuse basketball is indeed one Jerry McNamara, who will be the 9th head coach all time at Syracuse University. He will be next. He is next. The timeline of actual signings and hiring and all that stuff, we don't know yet. We could do Who's Next assistant coaches, but we are going to be all the way locked and loaded on this for the next, I don't know how long, but month at least, at minimum, because we're looking now, month and a half here. I'd like to think the staff comes together quickly. You know, if he's going to bring Arinze and Blackwell or whatever from Siena, I imagine that happens quickly. Then what generally happens is all the coaches go to the Final Four, which is in a couple weeks, and there will be lots of conversations there where you lock things like that down. So I'd like to think that by the time the portal opens, the staff will be pretty fully formed, with the fact that, you know, the assistant coaches are now hopefully 5 instead of 3. Some like this can take longer than not. We'll get to that, Devin. No wrong answers coming before the end of the show. And Godfather quotes will take us there at some point. Leave the gun, take the cannolis. Yeah, like I'd bring. You talk about Arinze. I admittedly did not, like, I wasn't, like, locked in on Siena games, but I watched the Merrimack game for the MAC championship, and I watched the Duke game in the tournament. And I watched Arinze play for 5 years at Syracuse. And were those centers as good as Arinze, who Is he still the Syracuse all-time leader in field goal percentage? He certainly was for a really long time. If he's not still, but it was like I am seeing Arinze Onuaku's post moves back on the basketball court. Like you saw them. Like, well, I think I know where these players, because it was multiple people, I think I know where these players learned that. So, like, is there room for Arinze on the staff? Like, what's his recruiting acumen and all that? He's still very new to the coaching game. I don't know. But if you're going to have 5 assistants, there's room for a guy like that can start out at the bottom rung and work his way up. And a big man coaching big man. Am I even a Siena season ticket holder? I am not, Jordan. I have held Siena tickets before, though. Like, I have attended Siena games. And back in the era where you actually got tickets. So I have held Siena tickets in my hand. Does that count? There we go. You called him Enrique? Man, that's a whiffaroo. You were 10? Enrique! Just Weitzman's over there with Enrique Iglesias. He's like, yes, I have an Enrique. May I help you? So, could Arinze be useful? Sure. I don't really know what Blackwell's role was there. He even has less involvement at high level basketball coaching than Arinze did. Obviously, he was Liverpool's head coach for a while at Boeheim's Army. Whatever. You're not really running a lot of stuff as the Boeheim's Army head coach. Like, is there room for a guy like that on the staff? Sure there is if you have 5 assistants. And then, all right, get me a former head coach. Get me some big-time recruiters, even in this era of NIL, and really fill out that staff. The GM hire, I think it'll be fascinating. I had said for a while that maybe keeping Alex Klein on as a transitional guy, regardless of the next coach, could be a good idea. Then we've all seen what happens on the social media and whatnot since he got let go. Yeah, I'm pretty. It feels like those bridges have been lit aflame pretty good. So I don't know where Jerry goes with that, but there's plenty. There's plenty of people out there to pick from for roles like that. So that hire. Getting a GM in place, honestly, that may need to be Jerry's first hire, because we saw what happened in the portal when they didn't have a GM, what kind of disorganized mess that was after Red's first year. Obviously, Jerry had left as well at that point. Just remember the mess of the portal after Red's first year, and then last year with Alex, it was at least organized. Why do you want to start calling Tim Leonard Enrique? I don't know. Does he give off Enrique vibes? So, getting a GM hired just so you're ready to roll for the portal, I think is going to be absolutely vital. Absolutely vital. Yeah, whoever get the hiring manager at Weitzman Shredding. They're clearly on top of it. They can be the GM. So I don't know. I might put GM as the most important immediate hire when you look at the portal and everything and what needs to happen right away. But those are plenty of conversations that will be able to happen in due time, because technically, Jerry's not the head coach yet. It technically hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen. It may officially get announced today or tomorrow. Who said it earlier? Jen, maybe you're just waiting. We'll get into no wrong answers here in a second. The women play tonight against Connecticut. You don't kind of want to rain on there. They're not really going to get a parade for it. But if they win, they can have a parade. No wrong answers is probably going to go a different way on all of that here in a little bit. But we'll see where it all goes. It's just I'd say tomorrow or Wednesday, probably officially announced. Will there be a press conference by the end of the week? I'd like to hear from Jerry in an official capacity by the end of the week. Obviously, he doesn't have long to travel to get back here. He can get back here anytime he wants. It's 2 hours door to door without speeding tickets. You can get back here pretty quickly from the Albany area to Syracuse. So there's no good reason, plus their season's over and all that. There's no good reason why a press conference couldn't happen reasonably quickly. Say an announcement comes tomorrow. You could easily have a a press conference on Thursday or Friday or whatever. Hopefully they didn't pack up all the stuff at the Dome. You should have left some of that stuff set up just to be ready to go. It's a Myron family victory court. Or do you do it at the Mello Center where Reds was? Or I don't know. Will there be questions that will actually be part of the stream? Questions. Absolutely questions. Yeah, Brian Hodgson did never win the Big East title with just basically his whole body ripped from itself with a crazy sports hernia. My goodness. Jerry, the stories that you've heard after the fact, like years later, of what Jerry was going through now 20 years ago in that Big East tournament, like literally like the game ends and like Syracuse trainer at the time, Brad Pike, like they were like packing him in ice in bathtubs at the hotel and like full on, like just nonstop treatment trying to get him ready to go again. And that's after, overtime games with Cincinnati, like, and UConn, like those were grueling games. And then it just looked like Jerry's running out of gas in the first half against Georgetown. Then he kicks it into gear again. And then they beat Pitt for the title. Man, what a 4 days that was. Man, it's got to be like short list. Obviously, setting aside the national championship, but it's besides that, it's got to be up there, if not number one, on your Syracuse fandom basketball list. Man, what a time to be alive. Plus, we got that quote out of it, Michael. That was also that week. Not 10. Oh, what a time to be alive as a Syracuse basketball fan. And speaking of, like that week. That very week, 20 years ago, Jerry McNamara, he of Who's Next and now Who Is Now, led Syracuse to a win over number one in the country, Connecticut. Segue. Tonight, another team needs to do that. If I can hit the right button.
Hi, Mason again. It's time to find out exactly what's going to happen in the next Syracuse game. This is no wrong answers. Here's Brian.
Well, thank you, Mason. Tonight, Syracuse will be playing the number one team in the country, and it is Connecticut. Happens a lot more in women's basketball than on the men's side, though UConn's been number one plenty. On the men's side, they've been number one religiously on the women's side, and the Syracuse women, after a really nice win against a good Iowa State team and a frankly very compelling game to watch on Saturday in the 8-9 game, have advanced to tonight's against UConn in stores, a.k.a. a very likely death sentence for the season. Syracuse's last win against Connecticut, as we go in the Wayback Machine, was 20 meetings ago. They've lost 20 straight against UConn. Their last win against Connecticut was January the 2nd of 1996. Less than a year after UConn's first national championship, they now have 12 with Gino Auriemma. Syracuse beat UConn at Manley Fieldhouse 62 to 59. Since that day, spanning from Stores to Manley Fieldhouse to the Dome to the various names of the Hartford Civic Center, now the XL Center, to the regular season, to the Big East tournament at the Hartford Civic Center, to Stores again at Campbell Pavilion, and to Indianapolis in the national championship game, and to the bubble tournament in 01 in San Antonio. Syracuse has played UConn 20 times since then and has lost every single one of those games. And without doing the math on average margin of defeat for the Orange in those games, the number large. The number rather large over the years, average margin of defeat. In this document, it's more than 20. This document's missing like I think it's 27 straight games they've lost. Go figure. The all-time series on Cuse.com is missing like 6 years of results. One of those years they lost to UConn 3 times in the year. But they lost by 4 to UConn in 08 in the Dome. That's the closest they've been in the last 3 decades against Connecticut. They've played them in the tournament multiple times recently. Most recently, 2 years ago, same round in Stores, an 8-point loss. Did they ever really have a chance to win the game? No, but they played them heads up, and they played a really good game against Connecticut in 2014 in round 2 in Stores, led by Deasia Fair. 3 years prior to that in the bubble, San Antonio, second round of the tournament. Gino wasn't there. Was he suspended or COVID? I forget the exact reason. He wasn't there. Chris Daly led UConn to a carry the 36-point win. It was 83-47. 4 years prior to that, round 2 of the tournament. So this is going to be the fourth straight meeting between these teams in round 2 of the tournament. The 5th straight meeting between these teams in the NCAA tournament going back the last decade. 2017 in Stores, 30-point loss, 94-64. Final career game, Alexis Peterson and Brittany Sykes. National title game the year prior to that, a 31-point loss to perhaps the best team of all time that was in the midst of a 100-plus game winning streak. At that point. Their last game as members of the Big East happened in the Big East tournament semifinals. Kayla Alexander's senior year in 2013. The Orange actually hung in. This would have been Brianna Stewart's freshman year. But, we're just kind of down 9, 10, 11. The whole second half ended up losing by 13. And then prior to that, it's just a string of blowouts. 25, 41, yikes. 25, no, that's 35, 36. Ooh, a close game, 19, 36. Look at this, a 82-38 loss. It was just beat down after beat down after beat down after beat down after beat down. Syracuse at the hand of UConn. And now UConn rolls in today, guess what, with multiple former number 1 overall recruits in the country when you look at AZ Fudd and you look at Sarah Strong. UConn's really good. UConn didn't even play well in the opening round, and they still won by 40, so no wrong answers. Syracuse and UConn heading out to Stores, lovely Stores in Gamble Pavilion tonight. 6 o'clock is the tip-off this evening. ESPN, I do believe, is the channel. 6 p.m. On ESPN tonight, Syracuse and UConn. Q Sports Knower and Circus of Values are right next to each other in the chat. Interesting. Yes, Q Sports Knower. We just did that for the last hour. Feel free to rewatch. And we will do that over and over again for the next month or so. The show started at 11. Welcome to it. So, Syracuse and UConn tonight. What has to happen for an upset? I'm sorry we didn't wait for you, Q Sports Snore. Divine intervention perhaps would be the lead thing that Syracuse needs tonight here in No Wrong Answers. And they're going to need people to play just out of their mind. Gino Auriemma was very complimentary of Uche Ezoje, saying she might be the best player that UConn's played against this year, which, considering UConn's schedule, that's a compliment. I think Uche will be fine today. Let's give her 18 points and 8 rebounds in the ball game. No wrong answers. Now's here where it gets tricky. No Dominique Darius, so you don't have your starting point guard. And against Connecticut and Gino, Syracuse's ability to not turn the ball over tonight could be very key, because they're going to come after Olivia Schmidt or whoever's got the ball in her hands in this game. So that's something important to watch out for. Layla Filia was outstanding on Saturday against Iowa State. I think she'll be decent, but it's going to be a lot harder for the shots to fall against UConn today. 16 points for Filia, but below 50% shooting today for the Orange Guard. Where else to go on the roster? All right, Olivia Schmidt, the breakout star of round 1, 15 points in the game, all on second quarter three-pointers. Yeah, it's a hard, long fall back to earth after a performance like that. Oh, she going to be on the scouting report tonight. 0 points tonight for Schmidt. It's going to get a whole lot harder for her in this ball game. So can Sophie Burrows, who legit can get her shot off, she's 6'2", she can get her threes off. Can she get off the shots tonight? I think she hits a couple of threes, but UConn's going to be very intent at stopping the Orange going off from deep. No wrong answers for UConn. They got 2 stars, 2 first-team All-Americans. AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong are both ridiculous players. Fudd can get going from 3. The Orange will have to watch out for that. It's hard to keep her down. 7 threes tonight for AC Fudd in her final game in Gamble. Sarah Strong is just a sophomore, but my goodness, she is good. No wrong answer, Sarah Strong tonight. 26 points and 13 rebounds for the other UConn star. And no wrong answers, final score tonight. it won't be for lack of effort that the Orange don't get it done tonight against UConn. But UConn's undefeated and number one in the country for a reason. They're the defending national champs for the reason. They have 12 national titles in the last 31 years for a reason. Final score tonight from Gamble, 92-62, all Huskies in this one. No post-game show planned due to other scheduling obligations this evening. If for some reason I'm terribly wrong, no wrong answers, and things go the other way, like emergency post-game show. We'll pull strings, we'll make it happen. Not expecting it, but if for some reason we need an emergency post-game show, we'll rally the emergency troops, and we will go for it. We will go for it. Yeah, here's the thing, Devin. UConn beats everyone by 30. And Syracuse this year, Syracuse is everyone. Syracuse's season this year, they were very, very good against most teams in the country. When they played really good teams, they got smacked. When they played good teams, look at what happened when they played Duke or Louisville or Michigan early in the year. When they played the really good teams this year, they got smacked around. And I think that's how it's going to go tonight, unfortunately. So UConn by 30, and no shame for Syracuse to have that happen to them tonight. But this UConn team, they are undefeated and the favorite to win another national championship for a reason. So with that, we will put the final wraps on things for today. Our next scheduled show at the moment is Wednesday evening, TPS Report, myself and Jordan. Another live in the 315 on Thursday, and then just stay loose and nimble. If there's a Jerry press conference and whatnot, we will mobilize forces and try to do a show around that as well. So there we are. Lots of Jerry talk, lots of basketball talk to come in the coming weeks. Football spring practice started as well. I suppose we'll get into that at some point also, maybe. I don't know. Well, they're doing it, but it's just not, there's more important things top of the brain right now. All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll catch you again, if not before. Hopefully an emergency post-game show tonight, and if not that, we'll be live with Jordan, 8 o'clock on Wednesday.
Thanks for watching the 315 with Brian Higgins. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on. We'll see you next time.